Good morning, Veritas. Today is Monday, June 8th, 2020. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Check out your Google Classroom assignment for today, Monday, June 8th, 2020. There are 4 problems. Here are the first 3 we will go over today, and then I'll make a video for the All-Star Challenge afterwards. Please pause this if you have not attempted these problems independently yet. You need to try them first by yourself to see how you did. Then when you're watching this video, you should already have your answers, and you're going to check and see very carefully where you made any mistakes if you did, or check if you got them right, or find some new strategies if you might have done them a different way than I did. All right, so let's go to number 1. Darwin did 875 sit-ups in 7 days. He did the same number of sit-ups each day. What's the total number of sit-ups Darwin did each day? Okay, so he did 875 sit-ups in 7 days. He did the same number of sit-ups each day. So we are making equal groups. We're making 7 equal groups because he did the same amount in those 7 days, but he did a total of 875 sit-ups. What's the total number of sit-ups Darwin did each day? Okay, so we have 7 days. They're all equal, same numbers, and he did a total of 875. So I drew out 7 circles. Each one represents a day. Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and day 7. Okay? He did 875 sit-ups, and he did the same amount each day. So we're making 7 equal groups. So we're doing 875 sit-ups, and we're dividing that into 7 equal groups. Each day is an equal amount because he did the same number of sit-ups each day. So we're making 7 equal groups with 875. Okay, so let's look here. We have 800s, and we're breaking 800s into 7 equal groups. So we can put 100 into each of those groups because we have 800 and we have 7 groups. So we're going to use 700 of them because we're going to put 100 into all 7 of those groups. Okay, so what we do here is 1 times 7, we used 7 of them. We're going to subtract to see how many we have left. We have 100 left. We put 100 in each group, that's 700. That means we have 1 more 100 because there were a total of 800. We used 700 of them. So then we're going to bring down the tens because that 100 didn't fit into these groups. So now we're going to combine it with the tens. So we have now 17 tens, okay, because this 100 is 10 tens. Plus the 70 is 7 more tens. So now we have 17 tens. So we can put 2 tens into each group, which is 20. We can't put 3 tens into each group because we can't put 3 because 3 times 7 would be 21 tens. So we can only put 2 tens into each group. So we're going to put 20 into each group, 2 tens. Okay? Then we use 2 times 7, we use 14 tens because we put 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 tens all together. So we used 14 of them. 2 times 7 is 14. Then we'll subtract. We have 3 tens left, but we can't just put them into 3 of these groups because then the groups won't be equal, and they all have to be 7 equal groups. So we're going to use those 3. We're going to hang on to those 3 tens, and we're going to mix them with the 5 ones. So now we have 35 ones. If we have 7 equal groups and 35, how many can we put into each group? We can put 5 into each group. So we'll put 5 here and there, and into each group we'll get 5. 5 ones. 7 times 5 is 35, so we have none left over. He did an equal number of sit-ups each day. He did 125. And if you look, each group has 125. Right? And there are no remaining sit-ups, so he did the exact same number every day. He did 125 each day. All right, now we can check this with multiplication. 125 times 7 days, equal groups here, times 7 equal groups, should get us back to 875, the total number of sit-ups, if we did the division correctly. So 7 times 5 is 35 ones. Carry the 3 tens over to the tens place. 7 times 2 is 14, plus the 3 we carried makes 17. 7 times 1 is 7, plus the 1 we carried is 8. So yes, it got us back to 875. Since division and multiplication are opposites, we can check it with multiplication to see if it was right. If 875 divided by 7 is 125, then 125 times 7 should be 875, which it is. So the answer of 125 sit-ups each day is the correct answer. Give yourself some snaps if you got that right. If not, check this math carefully, pause here, and figure out where it was you made your mistake and let me know so I can try to help you through that mistake. Okay, give yourself plenty of blank space. We're moving on to number 2. Okay, it says choose 2 fractions that are equivalent to 2/3. So we're choosing 2. So I'm gonna right here, just like I've been doing every day, make it real obvious to myself that I need to choose 2. Okay? So we're going to choose 2 fractions that are equivalent to 2/3. So we're going to start with 5/6. 5/6. Does 2/3 equal 5/6? So here's one way we can do it. 2/3 is how many sixths? What we need to do is multiply 2/3 times a fraction that's equivalent to 1. So we're basically going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. That way, we didn't really change this fraction. We're just going to make it into an equivalent fraction. The numbers are going to look different, but they're going to have an equal value. So 3 times 2 got us to 6. So 2 times 2, we have to multiply it times the same number as we did on the denominator. 2 times 2 is 4/6. Okay, so 2/3 equals 4/6. This said 2/3 equals 5/6, and that's not true because it equals 4/6. What we did was we multiplied 2/3 times 2 halves because 2 halves, 2 over 2, is the same thing as multiplying by 1. And just like with whole numbers, every time you multiply something times 1, you don't really change it. It's just looking different, and it's making it so that now we can check if that's correct. Since 2/3 equals 4/6, it does not equal 5/6. So that A is wrong. So now let's go to B. We're going to see if 2/3 equals, let's see how many ninths, because this says 6/9. So let's see how many ninths 2/3 is actually equal to. Okay, so 3 times 3 got us to 9, and 2 times 3, we have to multiply it times the same number. That way we really multiplied it times a fraction of 3/3, which is equal to 1. So 3 times 3 was 9, so we're going to do 2 times 3 again, right? Both times 3 is 6/9. So 2/3 equals 6/9. So 2/3 is equivalent to 6/9. So B is one of the correct answers, and right there it reminds me to choose 2. So far we have B being correct. Now let's go to C. 2/3 equals how many twelfths? Is it 7/12? We'll find out by seeing how many twelfths it actually is. Okay, so 3 times 4 is 12. So we're going to do 2 times 4 is 8/12. The reason we had to multiply them both times 4 is because that 4/4 is equivalent to 1. So we're really just multiplying 2/3 times 1, and it doesn't change the value. So 2/3 and 8/12 are equivalent. They're equal. They're the exact same value. So 2/3 equals 8/12, where this says 7/12. So it's not 7/12, it's 8/12. So C is not correct. And last one, we know that most likely this one's going to be correct because it says to choose 2, and we've only found 1. I'm still going to make sure that it's right. So 2/3 equals how many 15ths? Okay, if it's 10/15, then we know that this one's right. But I'm going to see how many 15ths is 2/3 equal to. Okay, so 3 times 5 gets you to 15. So 2 times 5, that way we're really multiplying by a fraction that's equivalent to 1, 5/5. As long as we multiply them both times the same number, then we really multiplied by 1. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. 2 times 5 is 10. So 2/3 and 10/15 are equivalent. They're equal. They're the exact same thing. So 2/3 does equal 10/15. So yes, that one is also correct. So B and D are the correct numbers, or the correct answers for number 2. Okay, give yourself some snaps if you got that. Tough work, but make sure you're very, very careful. Even when you get to here and you know that, hey, it's got to be this one because we have to choose 2 and there's only one left, Make sure you do that work. It only takes 1 more minute to check very carefully to make sure you got that done. Okay. Now, number 3. Sorry, I got a cool new tripod here. The camera's a little different holding the tripod, so excuse me if I'm having a hard time getting right onto the right spots here. Number 3, which of the following statements are true? So we're trying to find which ones are true. Choose all that apply. Very important that we're choosing all. And I'm going to really make sure that that is brought to my attention. Choose all. Okay, so here's more equivalent fractions. 3/4 equals 9/12. Let's try that. Okay. 4 times 3 is 12. And 3 times 3 is 9. That way we multiplied by 3/3, which is equivalent to 1. So yes, 3/4 equals 9/12. So this says 3/4 equals 9/12. That is correct. So A so far is correct. Let's go to B. 4/5 equals 8/10. Okay. So 5 times 2 is 10. And 4 times 2 is 8. That way we multiplied by 2 halves. 2 over 2, which is equivalent to 1. So we didn't actually change the value. 4/5 is equal to 8/10. 4/5 is equal to 8/10. That is also correct. So B is correct. Let's go to C. 6/8 equals 12/18. 6/8 equals 12/18. Make sure I got those right. Yep. So 6 times 2 is 12. But 8 times 2, we have to multiply them both times 2 because that way, again, we just really multiplied by a fraction that's equivalent to 1. 2 halves is equal to 1. So 6 times 2 was 12, but 8 times 2 is not 18. 8 times 2 is 16. So 6/8 is equal to 12/16, not 12/18, right? 6 times 2 got us to 12 where it needed to be for this one, but 8 times 2 does not get us to 18. That is wrong. So C is incorrect. Okay, it would have to say 12/18 or it would have to say 12/16 in order to be correct because 6 times 2 is 12 and 8 times 2 is 16, not 18. So that one is not correct. Okay, tricky. Good job. Let's go back to D, the last one. 3/8 equals 15/40. 3/8 equals 15/40. Let's try this last one and then we're done. 3 times 5 gets us to 15. 8 times 5 gets us to 40. So all we did was multiply 3/8 times 5/5. Because 5/5 is equal to 1. 3 times 5 is 15. That's correct. 8 times 5 is 40. That's also correct. So yes, 3/8 equals 15/40. All we did was multiply it times 1, so it's still the same value. Those are equivalent fractions. So D is also correct. So for this one, we had A, B, and D as being true. And C was the only one that was not true. Now I'm going to go back. Did we choose all that apply? Yes, we did. We are done. So the answer to number 1 was 125. Number 2 said to choose 2, so it was B and D. And number 3, which of the following are true? Choose all, A, B, and D. The only one that was not true was C. And that's it. Give yourself some snaps. Say hi to Charlie. He's sleeping. And I hope everybody has a great day. See ya.